Go, 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 go. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Go, 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 go. Go, 50, 50, 55. Come on. Ah.
The rings and the piston and everything. And we're going to check to see if we have spark. I kind of doubt it. Oh, it's still got fuel in it. Yeah. Well, let's disconnect that fuel pump, the fuel line, so at least it won't be dumped in, right? But it's almost like syrup. It smells nasty. It smells weird. It's pretty low. It's way down here. We can totally dilute it. We could put fresh fuel in it, and it'll totally dilute it. We should be, it's only down to like a quarter gallon. Okay. I think it'd be hard to dilute it, so we're going to add this thing, really full fuel, Oh. Okay. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I don't think I know what you think. Wait, so we'll just unplug it electrically. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. And then we don't have to worry about anything. I'm turning it over. Yep. No. Didn't this thing turn over yesterday? Yep.
Go, 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 go. Come on, come on, come on.
I got heat.
Go.
Yep. Alright. We've got no spark. Yeah. I mean, that's probably where that smoke is. The shock tower on this thing? The shock tower? There's like approximately nothing to it. Look, it's piece of angle iron. What? Yeah. Oh my gosh. But that's not from the carburetor. It's either a starter or something. Yeah. It's got an hour meter. Oh, the meter taking down. That's a good question, sir. Look, the smoke is getting worse. Man, I smell something dead in here. It's got 826 hours. Yeah. Hey, can you hit it again? Yeah. Yeah. Hit it one more time. So to review, we have power, continued ignition coils, the starter gauges, but only with a jumper wire because our ignition switch is dead. We have no spark. So we could have corroded points, we could have bad condenser, bad coil. It's got two coils. There's a lot to be. We're going to pop this cover off and we're going to clean the points on this thing. That's a lucky guess. They don't look too bad. And of course, they've built it in 20 plus years. So, I mean, I'm sure they're dirty. So I've got some sandpaper here. And we're going to just sit here and we're going to sand on these points. Get the rest of the thing. So, electricity goes from the battery to the ignition coils. Well, they go from the battery to a the refrigerator. No, it's not a regulator. It's a ratifier. It's a coil. There's a coil in there. It allows the electricity to kind of, so it doesn't burn up the coils and points and stuff. So give me a minute and I'll think of it. So it goes to that. Then it goes to the coils. Then we have power coming from the coils into the through the points. What's weird about this is we have two coils. Now I know it's a two-cylinder. We have power going through both coils, and both coils are getting signal from our points, which is interesting. We could have that coils, we could have that points, we could have that condenser. There's just a lot of things that can go wrong with it. It's a very simple system, and so that's all that we can do. And we're trying to keep it simple. We're starting with the most common problem. Way too much. We're going to close up the gap. So the points have been adjusted. Yeah. Got it. Y'all express more? Did you want to try to fix the brakes? We could probably try to fix the brakes. Alright, well that's great. We actually had some action, so that's good. I'm happy. Alright,
So get a new
got
run
back to the parts store, right?
on bad level.
There's a little green bottle in there, dude.
Robbery.
I got the second cheapest oil. Alright. I figured that. Sure. Yeah. Be that bad, dude. Dude, people's engines back in like the 80s and stuff were gunning up. Yeah, that was like 40 years ago. So it was like, I mean, I remember being a kid, my dad told me the Firestone tires had a big problem. So the brake pedal is just floppy. Someone's already put a ignition switch in this thing, and they added some washers, because, I'm gonna find a washer to put on it, too.
New ignition switch.
There we go.
Yep. Let's see here.
Pretty snug.
Pretty snug. Oops. Oh, dang nabbit. There we go. Sweet.
I'm gonna check out and see how flammable that stick is, and then we're gonna top up the fuel because it's right there empty. So this stick has been soaking for over 20 years. You think it's flammable? Because it hasn't moved in 20 years. It hasn't moved in over 20 years. Still flammable.
I like how you're climbing the carburetor.
Maybe.
I'm ready.
Choke it on. Hit. Is it time to look into tire sports? Oh, brakes. We gotta try to get the brakes going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll work on the brakes. You boys work on the tires. So the boys are working on wheels and tires. So Luke is redrilling both sides. John's redrilling some more too. So those are regular golf cart wheels and tires. They're the same height. They're a little narrower than the wheels that are on the Cushman.
Yeah, it's a really weird look.
It is 3 3/4. It's weird. So we have to re-drill the four-lug on the golf cart wheels, but it's going to work perfect. Meanwhile, I'm working on the brake master cylinder. I've got a hone. I'm going to clean that up. You see the piston is definitely caught up down in there. You can't really see it, but it should be at the end here, but it's been pushed in too far. So I'm going to hone that out, lube it up, and then I'm going to go into this end right here. I'm going to try to push it out. I can remove everything and Fantastic. I put a tire on the back right there. It was pretty easy because the tire was already off the rim. So I just put a new tire on that rim. There you go. Sounds like Johnny's struggling over there. So we're taking the carburetor off because we're going to go ahead and clean it out because we already know that most likely this is going to give us problems later. So we're just going to go ahead and clean it up, make sure everything's working properly on it. This thing's got an accelerator pump on it. The throttle plate. Is it throttling? And in this case, no. It is stuck solid. So I'm adding some PB Blaster on the throttle shaft, hoping to free that up. While that's soaking, I'm going to go ahead and just drop the bowl on this thing, letting the gas just pour out all over the table. And the good thing is that it looks clean. That's a good sign. 4 bolts. Shouldn't get it right off. I haven't taken one of these apart, but it looks like it may be simple, hopefully. What I'm going to do is just kind of carefully try to pull it apart. Yeah, there we go. That rod is what got me. Yeah, you can look in there and see that this thing has had old fuel in it. It definitely needs to be cleaned out. You have the float here. The little needle valve appears to be working. We have a jet right here. It's so gummed up, I'm going to pretty much guarantee that it is clogged up. Let's see. Even though it ran for us. Well, it's not clogged up. I can actually see through it.
I saw a bit of light there for a second. There it is.
Yeah.
Alright.
But it is disgusting. It's got varnish all over it. So with all the varnish in here, we're going to have to do a good cleaning on this thing because we are going to be putting this truck back to work.
What does that mean?
It means we're putting it back to work. Don't you worry about it there, buddy. It's gonna be fine. So a lot of these Cushmans can be road legal, which means that you can take that thing to the hardware store. Can you imagine? That thing was only $500. How much is a new truck nowadays? It's insane. So why not get an old Cushman, make it road legal, and use it for running around? It's great.
I mean, if you live close to the hardware store, or like even close to work,
Yeah.
and you wanted to fun daily,
Can you imagine the if I were driving that around town, people would be stopping me everywhere I
the
went.
insurance is probably like $8 a month on that thing.
Insurance would be pretty cheap. So I don't think you can put one of those on like the freeway or anything, but
Around town.
around town, maybe the next town over, the speed limit is like 35 or something between towns.
It's a good idea.
I love it. I think we ought to get cleaned up. So I freed everything up. Took a lot of Blaster, carb clean, brake parts cleaner, elbow grease, but I'm hoping this thing will go together and we'll be able to fire this thing up. And it runs. So we are ready to hook up a fuel line and give it a test fire. Think it'll run?
I think it'll run again.
I think it'll run too. Well, that's not a good way to start. Here we go. What are we leaking? It's hooked up. Oh, why is it hooked back up? What is smoking? The gasoline's all over the exhaust. Oh. So the thing runs fantastic. The last thing we need to do is, well, one of the last things we have to do is change this tire. Pretty simple. If I can get a jack under it, we're going to run over that tire using a board, and hopefully that'll take the bead off, and we'll be able to use some tire spoons to change the tire on the floor. Fingers crossed. Maybe we have to pick a bigger board. I'm already liking these tire spoons. Oh, yes. Get them on design. Prime. Link in the description, right? Oh, yes. This is way better than those prime parts. We have some new valve stems I'm going to put on because if you look, see the cracks in it? In that rubber? It's always good to replace the valve stem when you're doing the tire because it would really, really stink to go through all that work and have it go flat just because it's leaking right there. Last time you can just rip them off like that. Then you grab the wrist and
So you're making solid work. Holy smokes, he's almost done.
What the hell? Oh.
this is fantastic. For as long as I've seen this thing,
What?
as long as I've known this truck, it's always
Hey,
had flat tires.
Yeah.
It's
What?
always been sitting directly on the ground.
So what makes you say it was used on an Air Force base? Just what you were told?
Wait, I've
From
already
what I
seen
was
this video.
told, I did
Like,
also notice
still pretty damn impressive.
that those lights on the front of the vehicle, that's military.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they didn't come with these turn signals?
No, if you look up all the
I just want to know how they do this.
online, yeah, none of them have those lights up there on the front end.
Okay.
I was kinda bored.
Put
I
military
already
lights
seen
up there, sure. But, you know, I also heard that it was possibly on an Air Force base.
Can we not start this right now, please?
showed us like all kinds of things that drop out of fighter jets and go boom. And they let us play with liquid nitrogen. And we did a simulator. That was sick. So what may not be totally obvious about mini trucks is that they are super hard to work. This is under the access panels up there. You got your wiring, your fuses up there, your hood is doing its steering, your restart joints, and we're installing this great master cylinder. Yeah, so we got it all under here, and through up there. Got a porthole for the
Oh my.
base, and a porthole for the arm. You get a good look at these shock uprights too. Just that piece of line stick up in the front subframe.
Good news is we have brakes. Bad news is we only have half brakes. But they're working. Yeah, so the rear brakes have an obstruction, meaning that any time when we're driving this and putting it back to work, we could lose our front brakes, right? We have emergency brakes. So with like 50 years asbestos pads in there, that just means it's going to work better. So the last thing we need to do is get that seat cleaned up, because that thing is nasty. Dude, look at this seat now. Back in the day, this was probably the coolest, ugliest little work truck ever made, man. Yeah. I mean, if the rest of the truck looked half as good as the seat, it's not bad. That seat turned out pretty good. You think we can get a 670 in there?
No.
You know, this thing's got 18 horsepower. 670 has 22.
Well, after you move together and do some head work and stuff, you make more than that.
It might cram in there. Some of that cat driven motorcycle.
Someone I knew used to use a lot of manual weapons.
Possible. I don't know if the rear end would
They gave it to
hold up.
me. They got a better mouse.
It does look a lot like a
Now
golf
they're
cart.
from this one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. This bed section is made out of thicker steel than my 66 C10 over there. Well, it's probably comparable gauge. But the rear end looks like it's pulled straight out of a golf cart. So, I don't know. We're going to find out this time what it'll do here in a minute.
I gotta say, boys, the seat turned out fantastic.
It's like the best part of the whole truck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh, it feels so right. Dude, there's so much room in here. Really? Yeah.
Here we go.
What if I try using those? No. Am I gonna die? Yeah. That was just me. And not the horrible creators of this album. unload.
Yeah, and it had oil pressure. It had like 40 pounds of pressure or something like that. It was right around there. But do me a favor. It was shoot backwards. But look at this thing out in the bush. This thing is pretty sweet. Tell me if the lights come on. Okay. No lights. No. We lost power. What? Are you getting cooked over there, brother? You're not gonna go, oh boy. We need to look back up. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Guess we'll catch y'all later. So, I guess what happened was when I tightened the battery down, it moved it just enough to the exhaust where it came in contact, killed the ignition, and started cutting the battery.
So, like, is the battery done for it?
No, battery's fine. Battery can hold up better than that.
Is the ignition system correctly done?
The ignition system should be fine.
So, there's no cable.
Need two cables. We need a
Mostly.
Easy. Yeah. Medium demon. Yeah. I hate medium demon.
table off the exhaust. Should have a fire extinguisher with us. We'll just land it. All set. Ready? Yep, ready. So the cable can go back on this stuff.
Whoa, I like that.
This thing will burn to the ground. Yep. And then he puts it back together. It's like, it's fine, it's drying slow. I mean, it's fine. So check it out, dude. Oh, yeah.
That's fun, huh?
Yeah, just don't touch it to the exhaust or the chassis. Why don't we unplug it before you touch something?
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, just pull the cable. Just pull the ground. Just pull the cable out.
Let's see. Holy smokes, man.
It's the
Still touching, yeah. Alright, that was good.
Wow. Remember when I said it smelled like burning mouse species?
Yes.
I'm wondering if that's what I was smelling.
I mean, it's possible. Hey, but make first drive in this thing, fault. But I should have checked it. It was fine, but when I tightened up the battery, it moved in the battery box, and it moved closer to the exhaust, and I guess it leaned up against the exhaust.
It
But
happens, man. No big deal.
it happens. But we have brakes. So I say we fix these cables, and then we put this thing to work.
What exactly do you mean by let's put it to work?
Hey, brother, don't worry about it. You'll see.
I think I'm gonna be busy.
You'll be fine. Come on, dude. Don't go nowhere.
I like the patina though. Like the moss growing on it really tells a story.
Tell the story. Thank you, smart. He's painting this thing. Oh, wow. What an improvement already. Now, come on, boys. We got to test that half-ton payload capacity.
You know, yeah, I am a little skeptical. That's a tiny machine. I'm gonna call this thing an ant because it can carry 5 times its body weight.
Let's go. E2? Wow. I think we just hit our maximum capacity inside the air.
Dude, it hurts.
Not bad. He's got a governor in here, huh? He does. Alright, really? We're in high?
Go.
We're in high? We're in high. High gear. Is that fuel pump? We got a wiring issue. Alright, I'm gonna run a hot wire straight to the fuel pump.
So it turns out we had faulty fuel pump wiring all along.
No, that other fuel pump just wasn't delivering. It was working, but it couldn't push the fuel up. You all right?
Is this wide open?
At the job site. Like I said, we're gonna put this thing to work. We're gonna put it in front of this because we're gonna drop the tailgate.
And this is just to test the payload capacity, right?
Absolutely, we're testing the payload capacity, so we're gonna have to guess about what 1,000 pounds is.
I don't think it's gonna take very long.
No, it's not. Those are very thin. So this is just to test the payload capacity, huh? Oh, this is so heavy. did fantastic. The
Huh?
Cushman is awesome. Now, can y'all help me get these rocks in the trailer?
Wait, what are you talking about, dude? This is when we were testing the Cushman.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. But we're also loading it into my trailer.
Why?
I'm going to take it home because I'm doing some gardening.
Gardening? Did we load 1,000 pounds of rocks so you can do some gardening?
This Cushman's been sitting for 20 plus years. It is 50 years old. We put it back to work and it did fantastic. So, I guess that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all later. Okay?
It does look kind of cool, though. It's pretty sweet.
But I gotta say, at this speed, pretty good.
Yeah, our costs for vehicle right now are about done with the lot.
We're only halfway there.
I can feel like at 30 miles per hour, which is what these are like generally supposed to run top speed wise. I feel like it'll steer pretty good. Please trust me.
Look at it go. I mean, I gotta admit, it's got an awesome looking face.
Survey said, second to the slopes. 2 minutes, 32 seconds. When the governor kicks in, it's like hitting the brakes. You can feel it.
Yes, you read the title. No, I'm not kidding. I'm going to prove it. Can I remember the most important website ever created and one of the most ethically ran businesses on the face of the earth? Craigslist. Well, hey guys, look at these on this part of the video where I have a the full story makes you want to know more, so you sit through my ad and then continue watching the video. I don't have that. It's just going to be unhinged the entire time. So let's get the ad out of the way. This is the world's largest commercially sold zip tie that I got drunk and bought one night. What? Alright, you guys know the deal. Delete me. Online subscription model. You give them money every month. They turn around and make sure the data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does this actually do in practice? It gets rid of a bunch of robocalls and spam emails, and on top of that, your personal info isn't just floating around the internet for anybody to be able to buy for a couple of bucks. And I know what you're thinking, because I thought the same thing. I don't want to give Delete Me all my personal information either. I'm trying to get my personal information off the internet. Why would I give it to an internet company? You don't really have to give me your personal information. It's honestly kind of creepy. I gave them my name and my email address, and that was it. They came back to me a couple days later and was like, is this your address or one of your previous addresses? It was. Is this your mom's full name? Uh-huh. Is that your dad's full name? Uh-huh. Are you related to this person? Did you go to this high school? They knew everything about me and knew exactly who I was, just by me giving them my name and my email. All I had to do was answer a couple of yes or no questions, and it turned out that wasn't happening. This was. At which point they're like, cool, go ahead and pay for our subscription service. We'll go to all the data brokers where we found this information and force them to delete it. And as long as you keep being a paying member, they will continue to monitor all of these data brokers for your personal information. And if these data brokers do acquire it again, they will force them to delete it again. In my opinion, it's definitely worth it. I've been using them since before they were paying me to talk about them, and I'm going to keep using them after they quit paying me to talk about them. If you want to get your stuff, I'll have a link and discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. Thanks for watching. I was not planning on making this video. I needed to buy a couch, and I went on Craigslist to do it. Whoa, I thought you were a big YouTuber, and big YouTubers make a bunch of money. Why can't you just buy a new couch? Bro, because I wanted to blow this one up in Canada, right? And buying a new couch didn't seem financially responsible, okay? So then I do this store. Anyways, I need a couch. I go to Craigslist. Seems like a normal thing to do. I'm scrolling through Craigslist, and then it dawns on me, this website has not changed in my entire life. I've been perusing Craigslist since I was in middle school. Nothing about this website has changed whatsoever. And the voice in the back of my head is like, how the fuck does Craigslist make money? I mean, think about it. I've never seen a single, like, targeted ad, like, you know, you get ads on YouTube videos, you get ads on Facebook, Instagram, you don't have that. There's never been the pop-up being like, hey, give me your email and your personal information and save 10% off your next purchase. They're not selling my personal information. They've never made me pay to use the site. They've never asked me for anything. How are they making money? And at first I started thinking maybe it's like a public service type thing, you know, like Wikipedia. Like maybe some people donate just to keep the website up and running. At which point I'm like, maybe I should donate to Craigslist. I've been using it enough. I probably do all the little bit of money to keep the site running, you know, pay it forward, if you will. So then I Google it. How much money does Craigslist make? They make anywhere between $300 million and $1 billion a year, and they only have 50 employees and an 80% profit margin. Okay, that's like $16 million generated per employee of profit. At this point, I'm like, oh, they're fucking up to something sinister. I'm gonna figure out what it is. So I started looking into it, and boy, was I wrong, because it became very apparent to me very quickly that if Craig Newmark, like Craigslist Craig, that Craig, and the CEO, Jim Buckmaster, wanted to be evil tech overlord trillionaires, they absolutely could. And this one's the most important website in the history of the world, all right? If you're a normal person doing normal people things on the internet, almost every website and every service you use online is a single idea that was ripped off from Craigslist, and it's only monetized and used to exploit you to make billions of dollars. And if Craigslist wanted to do it first, they absolutely could. And the only reason they didn't is because they looked around and they were like, I mean, we're making hundreds of millions of dollars and we're not screwing over literally anybody. What if we just keep doing that? And that's what they did. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're just going to take from the top. 1995, Craig Newmark, the guy that founded Craigslist, is living in San Francisco. He's a super nerdy dude, like pocket protector, glasses with his face. Nerdy. He's computer savvy. Not that great at making friends. So he wrote an email list for his like local San Francisco area where he would just blast on email for all kinds of different social events like art viewings or tech meetups or whatever. Any social event that you wanted to promote, you could send it to Craig and he would blast it out to all of his followers on this email list that would affectionately become known as Craigslist. And he pretty much just did this to help him and other people go out and meet and make friends. And he's just like doing this on his own free time. He's still working a full-time job, managing this massive email list, and in 1986 it just becomes email. So he makes Craigslist as we know it today, the website, where he basically allows people to just upload all the details of their current event, and everybody knows they can go to Craigslist.com and they can look up all the different social events themselves. So he's one of the first, if not the first website to allow users to go in first to promote their social events to get people to interact with each other, which arguably makes it the first social media ever. And it's the purest form of social media. Here's the plan. You come to my platform. You meet people. You leave my platform. You go meet the people
figure scare.
Yeah, I wasn't exaggerating when I said it earlier. Every website that you use on the internet is an idea that was ripped off from Craigslist and then used to exploit you to make a ton of money. So 1996, Craigslist is up and pretty much being used for social events, and then people start uploading other things on there like job openings or resumes, and they're like helping people find employment. And Craig is like, oh, well, that seems like a good thing, but also he's getting so much traffic that he can't afford to keep this website running much longer because he has to operate all these servers because he's getting all these hits on his website. So he has to figure out a way to make at least a little bit of money. So what he does is whenever you want to post a job opening, he's going to charge you anywhere from $5 to $75 to post your job listing on his website. If you're a multi-million-dollar company looking for, a hedge fund investor or a doctor, he's going to charge you $75. If you're a small home-owned business, if you're like the local hardware store, he's going to charge you $5 to help you find a new cashier. It's like the most straightforward, honest way to go about business on the internet. And then you have companies like Indeed and Glassdoor that took that idea and made it way fucking worse. That's funny. Give me $5, I'll post your job listing. If people are interested, they'll get a hold of you. You can interview them. If you hire them, great. Companies like Indeed and Glassdoor, okay, we're going to take Craigslist idea and we're going to charge way more than $5 to post your job listing. It's actually going to be big. So whichever job just is
Yo, I have the cyclic icon as my secondary icon. What the? Why is the cyclic icon my second?
Millions and millions of resumes and credentials from potential employees, and then we're going to use that data and sell it to massive employers. That way, if we get data that shows, like, I don't know, people with master's degrees are willing to work for a job that only pays $19 an hour, we're going to turn around and sell that information to these massive employers. That way, they know how little they can pay people, and we're actually going to be able to make a ton of money by selling this information to that employer, and that massive employer is going to be able to underpay a ton of people, driving down wages across the entire country. And the best part is like half the job listings don't even actually exist, or they're ghost listings that already been filled internally, but we're not going to count anybody that, so they still give us all our personal information, so we can turn around and exploit people that are looking for work by selling their personal data. Yeah, I'm telling you, whatever you do on the internet, Craigslist is perfect. Eventually he's got to start hiring people to help him. He ends up having 9 employees working out of his apartment to run this website. And it just keeps growing. People start posting more shit. Pretty soon people are posting rental houses that are available or houses that they're trying to sell. Again, selling is super straightforward. Give me $5 and throw your house up on the internet, we'll help you sell. This website on the internet will allow you also to get in there and hold fire, like looking at pictures on the internet of the house, and then they talk and meet in the middle, they go look at the house, they buy the fucking house, and they end up with the real estate agent 6% of the value of their property. Wow, what great idea. And then Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com come along and they're like, hey, let's do the same exact thing. We'll make the website a little bit prettier and people can go on the internet and look, and then we're not going to connect them with the buyer. No. We're going to harvest their information and then turn around and sell that information to the real estate agent. And then we sell to the real estate agent for anywhere between like $500 and $1,000 per lead. And then that's going to be estimated to the real estate agent cost, which is already 6%, but now it's going to be even more because they have to pay this extra fee. And we're going to raise the prices of houses all across the entire fucking country.
This is the worst.
Which is something that Craigslist totally didn't get what they wanted to, but they were fine just making $5. Did you understand? Craig literally gave you a way to circumvent having to pay real estate agents 6% of the value of your entire fucking house, and nobody likes using it because the user interface isn't pretty enough. It's insane. Which, to be fair, I kind of understand. I mean, look at Craigslist. If it were any other website on the planet besides Craigslist, you could one look at this and be like, that's a fucking scam. I mean, if we're being honest, Craigslist looks like it was made by a guy that hired off of Craigslist. You want to know why? Look, because that's exactly what happened. 1999, employees are pulling up resumes on Craigslist, finds Jim Buckmaster, hires him, gives an absolute killer, starts expanding Craigslist into other big cities all across the United States, starts adding all kinds of categories. He adds all the forums where you can have discussion, expanding their part of their social media. He starts adding all the different for sale sections where you can sell your used cars and everything else. He starts expanding absolutely everything. He even gives it its search engine. Yes, Craigslist had a search engine before Google even fucking existed. He basically came in and created the Craigslist that we have today, quickly became the CEO, and he gave us the glorious for sale $5 a month no matter what, and I'm taking like a 2 to 3% flat rate of everything you sell. Same thing with Etsy, same thing with eBay, same thing with Amazon. You're giving a percentage cut of everything you sell. Craigslist, free. Facebook Marketplace is free too, and it does the same thing. Is it free, or does it come at the cost of having to give Mark Zuckerberg all your personal information so he can turn around and sell it? And now he knows you can earn $19.75 hyper targeting with ads 24/7. Not to mention you can go to Craigslist anonymously. There's no tracking. You don't have an account. There's no profile. You can just literally get the dude's email or phone number and call him and be like, hey, are you selling that Toyota Camry? I'd like to come see it. Great. You go there, you give him cash, you take the Camry, you fuck off, and you have a great day. I don't even know that guy's name. He doesn't need to know my name. I give him money. I buy the car. I leave. That's the end of the story. Or I can do it on Facebook Marketplace, and then he gets curious, and he decides to click on my profile. Now he knows what I look like. He knows what my wife and kids look like. He knows my last name. He knows where I work. He knows all kinds of personal information about me. And just, no, thank you. It's completely unnecessary. Craig did it first. He did it for free, and he did it better. Speaking of flat out Toyotas, Jim Bucknell, when he was adding all these extra features and forums and discussion things on Craigslist, decided that he had a good idea. He was going to take the best, funniest posts in Craigslist history from all across the world, and he was going to archive them in the best of Craigslist section. And the funniest fucking ad of all time is in there for a Toyota Corolla. The listing name is 1999 Toyota Corolla. Fine as fuck. You want a car that gets dropped off? You want a car that's hassle-free? You want a car that literally no one will ever compliment you on? Well, look no further. The 1999 Toyota Corolla. Let's talk about the features. Bluetooth. Nope. Sunroof. Nope. Fancy wheels. Nope. Rear view camera. But it's got a transparent rear window and you've got a fucking neck that can turn. Let me tell you a story. One day my Corolla started making a strange noise. I didn't give a shit and ignored it. It went the fuck away. The end. You can take the engine out of this car, drop it off the Golden Gate Bridge, fish it out of the water 1,000 years later, put it in the trunk of the car, fill the gas tank up with Nutella, turn the key, and this puppy would fucking start right up. This car will outlive you. It will outlive your children. Things this car is old enough to do. Vote. Yes. Consent to sex. Yes. Rent a car. It is a car. This car's got history. It's seen some shit. People have done straight things in this car. People have done gay things in this car. It's not going to judge you like some fucking Volkswagen would. Interesting facts about this car. The car's exterior color is gray, but the interior is also gray. The owner's manual oil is listed as optional. This car was unveiled at the 1998 Detroit Auto Show. It caused all 2,000 attendees to spontaneously yawn. The resulting abrupt change of air pressure inside the building caused a partial collapse of the roof. 4 people died, and it was chronicled in the documentary Bored to Death, the story of the 1999 Toyota Corolla. You want to know more about this car? Great. I had my car fill out a Facebook survey. Favorite food? Spaghetti. Favorite TV show? Favorite band? Between Ghost and Jim Boston. This car's as practical as a Roth IRA. It's as middle of the road as your grandpa during his last silver alert. It's as utilitarian as a member of a church whose scripture is based entirely on water bills. I remember growing up with this car with a single sheet of paper back that said it's a Corolla. It's fine. Let's face facts. This car isn't going to win any beauty contest, but neither are you. Stop lying to yourself and stop lying to your wife. This isn't the car you want. It's the car you deserve. The fucking 1999 Toyota Corolla. I need to do a whole video of just the funniest Craigslist ads. Hell yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting horribly sidetracked. Anyways, early 2000s, Craigslist is absolutely fucking there. People want them to IPO. They want them to stock market. People want to invest. But Craig is like, nah, I'm good. It's fine. I'm just going to keep owning it. This is working. I'm making a ton of money. I don't need to open it up to like investors because then I'm going to be, bound to make the investors more money. And then they're going to want me to turn around and start charging everybody to post things on Craigslist. And it ruins the entire scene of why I started this business. No, I make enough money. I don't need to be an evil tech billionaire. Just no. He literally gets told by investment bankers and venture capital people that if he would just IPO and allow outside investors to come in, he could make $11 billion. And he's like, don't care. In his own words, and I quote, it didn't bother me because my moral compass is set in stone. At which point, all of the venture people came out of the woodwork and they're like, wow, Craig is a great guy. We're going to leave him alone forever. No, I'm just kidding. eBay tries to buy him out. He says no. And then eBay brute forces their way in. One of the first employees for Craigslist got paid in equity. He owned like 25%. And he was disgruntled because he obviously wanted to sell out and make billions of dollars. And Craig wasn't going to let him. So he turned around and sold his 25% share in Craigslist to eBay for $32 million. To be fair, those several accounts, that's one account. The other account is that both Jim and Craig and this disgruntled employee all banded together and sold eBay 28.4% of the company for $32 million. And the reason that Craig allowed it was basically to offload this disgruntled guy that was already upset. And he saw there maybe some value with eBay, and allegedly eBay had made a bunch of promises that they weren't going to try to change Craigslist. Regardless of which one of those two scenarios it was, eBay comes in, they're now a board member sitting on the board because they have this huge share of Craigslist, and eBay starts trying to change Craigslist so they can make a ton of more money. And Craig, not having that shit. Absolutely not.
You gonna get away with it? Not up in here. Not up in here.
So, because eBay couldn't make Craig utilize Craigslist to make more money and exploit people, they turned around, and because they were sitting on the board, they had access to all this private personal data, because Craigslist to this day is still a private company. We don't actually know how much money they make. These are all like projections and hearsay. So they're super private, all the information, their internal workings. So they gather up all this information and then turn around and start a website called Kijiji, which is a knockoff of Craigslist that now dominates Canada. Obviously, Craig's pretty pissed off about this, and he needs to get them off the board so they don't have access to this information. So he ends up diluting their shares below 25%. That way they no longer have their base, and they can't have this information anymore. Problem solved. eBay turns around and sues him because of it. He turns around and sues eBay for giving away his personal information and creating competitors, and he ends up losing on this legal battle that ultimately resolves with Craig buying back all the equity from eBay. And that's it for that history. Craigslist to this day is still the exact same thing that it was back in the early 2000s. It's identical. Craigslist still looks like it was designed by a guy that had it on Craigslist because it was. There's no algorithms that select the best posts and rank them higher. There's no way to pay money to get your post ranked higher. It's just, we're going to post it chronologically, and however you post it, that's the order it's going on the website. We have hired psychologists and business majors to figure out and construct a way to keep you on the platform as long as possible, to try to force you to digest as many ads as possible for us to make more money. No. You go to Craigslist, you get the information you want, you leave Craigslist, you go meet a stranger, you buy a couch for $40, and you blow it the fuck up with Tannerite because this is America. Craigslist is literally the predecessor for social media, finding houses online, buying used cars online, all on forums. Literally everything you use the internet for, Craigslist came up with and pioneered it and offers almost all of it to this day for free.
If you can't learn to be gentle on the keys, I'm gonna make you sit on your fucking hands until they stop feeling.
Craig
Got
could
me?
have literally been an evil tech trillionaire. He could have
You are
been the guy
really
that
starting to
Zillow,
piss me off.
Realtor.com, Redfin. He could have ran Indeed, Glassdoor, Facebook, Instagram, X. All that money all these companies have made, that could have
Did
been
it?
him, but he would have had to fuck
Stop
you over
beating
to do
on
it,
him, dude.
and
You
he
don't
wasn't
have to
willing
rap
do
on
it.
the
He
keys
just
so
decided,
hard.
you know what? Hundreds of millions of
You
dollars
understand?
is enough. I'm gonna be a good person. And that is why
Do you?
Craigslist is
'Cause you
the
keep
most
doing it.
the most important website of all time. Thank you for watching.
Go ahead.
Go buy some merch, maybe drink some Echelon. All that's available over the fatelectrician.com. Crack bang out.
TV's up loud and I can still hear you smacking the
I
keys.
don't know how much.
You keep giving me
Tannerite
dirty looks,
it
dude.
takes
I'll
to
rip
blow
that
up
mop
couch,
off your fucking head.
but I know how much I'm gonna use. So I followed you on that. This is a full set. Coffee table with your guys. This coffee table is perfect for someone with a cooking habit or looking to shoot an adult-rated film. As you can see from the photo, the majestic beauty of this coffee table rivals earthly treasures such as the color of the sky at sunset, the laughter of a small child, and infidelity. Qualities of this table: carpeted, mirrored, the motherfucker spins, doesn't have any weird splotches under black lights. Due to the assumed large demand for this table, all inquiries will be subjected to a quiz to determine their level of badassery. The price on the table is firm: $7.83, 4 cans of Chef Boyardee beef ravioli, and a framed photo of Betty White.
Drink one a day.
At the end of James Cameron's 1989 underwater thriller The Abyss, oil rig diver Bud Brigman, played by Ed Harris, dons an experimental diving suit in which instead of air, he breathes a special oxygenated liquid. This allows him to avoid the lethal effects of extreme water pressure and descend to the bottom of a deep ocean trench to defuse a nuclear warhead. While certainly a memorable plot device, surely such a technology is pure science fiction, right? Well, not so much as you might think. The breathing fluid depicted in the film, oxygenated perfluorocarbon, actually exists. And while scenes with the diving suit were filmed with Ed Harris holding his breath, an earlier scene in which a rat is immersed in breathing fluid was filmed for real. While this is certainly the most famous depiction of liquid breathing, the technology has been experimented with for over a century, and while it might not quite be ready for use in deep-sea diving, it may have life-saving applications in the field of medicine. The first experiments with liquid breathing were conducted shortly after the First World War, when doctors began investigating the use of oxygenated saline solutions to help heal the lungs of soldiers damaged by poison gas. But it was not until the height of the Cold War in the late 1950s that research truly began to advance as the US Navy sought ways to allow sailors to escape from submarine without suffering from decompression sickness. Decompression sickness is known as the bends. This a condition that results in breathing air at pressure. As a diver descends and water pressure increases, more and more nitrogen from the air becomes dissolved in their tissues. If they then ascend too quickly to the surface, the sudden drop in pressure causes the nitrogen to enter the solution, leaving tiny bubbles that can cause severe trauma, air embolism, strokes, and death. Consequently, divers must descend slowly and make frequent decompression stops to allow nitrogen to be gradually released from the body. But if instead of air, a diver or escaping submariner could breathe an oxygenated liquid, then the pressure inside and outside the lung would be equal, preventing nitrogen buildup and the need to decompress. Liquid breathing would also help reduce or eliminate other hazards of deep diving, including nitrogen narcosis or rupture of the deep and alcohol-like intoxication caused by breathing nitrogen under pressure. Oxygen itself also becomes dangerous below a certain depth, a phenomenon known as oxygen toxicity. To avoid these effects, divers use various breathing gas mixtures such as heliox or trimix, which dilute the oxygen and nitrogen with helium. But even this only works up to a point, as below around 160 meters, breathing helium induces severe tremors and other neurological effects known as high-pressure nervous syndrome. As a result, the deepest any diver breathing pressurized gas has been able to descend to is 701 meters, even then only in a land-based diving chamber. In 1962, a team led by Dr. Johannes Kleister at Duke University succeeded in creating oxygenated saline solution pressurized to 160 atmospheres, the high pressure being necessary to dissolve sufficient oxygen in the fluid. But while respiration was sustained in this manner for around an hour, the other was soon after respiratory acidosis, aka carbon dioxide. This can be resulting in short runs of liquid breathing, which is why researchers say while liquid breathing can easily deliver sufficient oxygen to the body, it is far less efficient at removing exhaled carbon dioxide. In order to prevent acidosis, the average human would have to move 5 liters per minute of breathing fluid through the lungs while resting and 10 liters per minute to perform any sort of physical activity, a flow rate human lungs are not capable of sustaining for any length of time. Any practical fluid breathing system would thus have to actively pump fluid into and out of the lungs, like the mechanical ventilators used in hospitals. In 1966, American researchers Leland Clark and Frank Garland made a breakthrough in liquid breathing research by placing Kleister's oxygenated saline with an exotic liquid called perfluorocarbon, or PFC. First developed as part of the Manhattan Project during the Second World War, PFC is a colorless liquid making PFC unreactive and biologically inert. It has twice the density of water, but a quarter of the viscosity, and it can hold nearly 20 times as much oxygen and carbon dioxide as water, properties which make it ideal as a breathing fluid. Clark and Rollins' early experiments involved simply immersing rats and mice in oxygenated PFC, while the high-density PFC as a breathing fluid. Clark and Rollins' work on PFC was very much like Maestro, between 1969 and 1975 conducted one of the most comprehensive studies on liquid breathing in history, using both animals and humans as test subjects. In the course of his research, U.S. Navy diver Francis J. Collier became the first human being to oxygenated cellular PFC. Despite receiving no medication except for a local anesthetic to facilitate intubation, Palachuk did not find the experience overly uncomfortable, though they encountered difficulty draining the fluid from his lungs, and he developed pneumonia as a result. In 1971, experiences participating in Brian Fulton's 17-year-old James Cameron, he started to eventually become the screenplay for The Abyss. Tyson's research concluded that a human could breathe PFC for up to an hour without suffering carbon dioxide poisoning, provided they didn't overly exert themselves, making liquid breathing more viable for stable physical applications. Maestro also experimented with emulsions of PFC and sodium hydroxide, which could more readily absorb carbon dioxide than blood. Ultimately, however, none of these techniques ever saw practical use in the real world. Navy SEALs reportedly experimented with liquid breathing in the early 1980s, but found breathing PFC so strenuous that several divers suffered rib sprains and fractures from the effort required during training exercises. One proposed solution to the acidosis problem is to fit divers with a venous shunt device that scrubs carbon dioxide directly from the bloodstream. Unfortunately, the medical and logistical issues inherent in such a device are fairly obvious, and liquid breathing still has a long way to go before it becomes a viable technique for deep-sea diving. It may, however, have an important role to play in medicine, especially in the care of premature infants. Our lungs contain around 500 billion alveoli, tiny sacs of tissue through which oxygen is absorbed into the bloodstream. To prevent these from collapsing in on themselves like a wet paper bag, the body produces a substance called pulmonary surfactants, a mixture of lipids that reduces the substance of water and allows the alveoli to remain filled. Premature babies, however, are incapable of producing sufficient amounts of surfactants, and as soon as they are born, most of their alveoli collapse, making it difficult for them to breathe. While traditional mechanical ventilators have been used for decades to help premature infants breathe, high pressures produced by these machines can severely damage their delicate lungs. But by flooding the lungs with breathing fluids, liquid ventilation recreates the conditions found in the womb and allows the alveoli to open up, greatly increasing gas exchange. The technique also provides a convenient means of administering medication directly to the lungs. Neonatal liquid ventilation was first pioneered by J.S. Greenspan at Temple University Hospital in Philadelphia, who in 1989 placed 13 premature infants on liquid ventilators for between 24 and 96 hours. All were successfully weaned back to breathing air, and of the 13, 11 showed marked improvements in lung function, though 6 later died of causes unrelated to the experiment. A similar study conducted by R.B. Herschel in 1995 on 19 adult pediatric and neonatal patients similarly confirms the viability of liquid ventilation, with 11 of 19 patients surviving with an improved lung function. However, the equipment required to carry out full lung ventilation was found to be overly complex and expensive, so in 1991, B.P. Pullman developed a simpler technique known as partial liquid ventilation, or PLV. In PLV, the lungs are only partially filled with breathing fluid, the rest being supplied with air via a regular mechanical ventilator. This allows the breathing fluid to open up around 40% of the lungs' alveoli, while allowing for more efficient removal of carbon dioxide. Another proposed technique involves administering breathing fluid as an aerosol mixed with air or oxygen, which produces similar results while being far more comfortable for patients than breathing straight fluid. And in 1995, Mike Darwin and Stephen Harris demonstrated the application of liquid breathing to the induction of therapeutic hypothermia. This refers to the cooling of the human body following cardiac arrest to slow the onset of brain and other tissue damage. By perfusing the lungs with chilled PFC, Darwin and Harris achieved a cooling rate of 0.5 degrees Celsius per minute, faster than any existing technique. As a result of these and other breakthroughs, the FDA has granted liquid perfusion fast-track development status in order to bring this potentially life-saving technology to patients as quickly as possible. So while James Cameron won't be able to reach the Marianas Trench without a fancy submarine for some time to come, he can at least take comfort in the fact that the technology which so inspired him as a teenager may, one day, save millions of lives. you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you
For me, I'm 56 years old. I'm sorry.
While most people choose their words carefully around celebrities, Kevin Hart never holds back. From embarrassing NBA legends to exposing Hollywood secrets to shutting down a disrespectful streamer, these are the roasts that prove Kevin Hart will savagely destroy anyone without hesitation.
The way you gotta tell me where it says,
Like when Kevin Hart saw Kawhi Leonard's infamous laugh on ESPN, he broke down so hard he was in actual tears.
what would you like people to know about me?
I'm a fun guy.
What's up, Inzers? Welcome back to another family reaction video. Today we're going to be checking out, one of our most popular reactions ever that we only uploaded like about a month ago. This, apparently, what you guys in the comment section said, apparently that's slightly outdated. You guys need to see the 2025 version.
Okay.
So this is the updated, fully relevant information now. So we're going to check it out and see just how close the New Zealand, the US military really comes to New Zealand. I mean, like, honestly, you guys should be proud of coming second to us, okay? So,
You do know that the last time you said that, someone thought you were serious. They did.
yeah, I mean, so, like, come down and see us shoot. Because everything. Anyway, let's check it out.
The US military isn't just strong, it's unmatched. According to global firepower, America ranks #1 in the world. Again, with a power index score of 0.0744. It leads ahead of Russia and China, who trail behind with 0.0788. That might sound gross, but in military terms, it's a massive gap. Because when it comes to raw firepower, funding, global reach, and speed, no London comes close. Today we're breaking down exactly how the US keeps its edge, from trillions of defense spending to unmatched manpower, aircraft, and naval dominance. Let's start where military power begins: money. Money is one of the most important factors in determining a country's military strength, as it costs a colossal amount of money to forge a strong force. Millions of dollars can go into the production of a single tank, for example, with some of the world's finest fighter jets having nine-figure price tags.
Yeah, that's right.
There are costs for these smaller vehicles, weapons, and other pieces of equipment a strong military needs, plus funds for training and paying active duty personnel, from soldiers to mechanics, engineers, pilots, and more. It's no secret the US spends heavily on defense. Whether you look at recent years or go back further in history, it's constantly had the biggest military budget by far, sometimes spending up to 10% of the country's entire gross domestic product, or GDP, on defense. In 2025, the US is expected to spend just under $900 billion on its military.
600 billion was in the last video.
Comparison, the next biggest spender is China, with an officially reported 2025 defense budget of around $240 billion.
Nintendo for the TV?
Russia's budget is approximately $126 billion.
Sure,
More than double both, the total would still fall short of the US.
but you just have to plug in the adapter and HDMI.
Actual spending. The US maintains a decisive lead, focused on funding, global reach, alliances, and cutting-edge military technology. Even more astonishingly, the United Arab Emirates of all the countries ranked second to seventh in 2025 spending, which includes China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, the UK, Japan, Australia, France, and Ukraine. That still would not match the US. Next, let's look at manpower. People are the beating heart of the army. They're the ones who man the tanks, pilot the jets, fire the rifles, and so much more. You need trained, willing, and skilled fighters to get a truly strong fighting force, and the US certainly has plenty of those. There are several different ways to measure manpower, and the US doesn't have a list of increasing power, so let's go through all of them. Military manpower. This tells us how many people each country can mobilize in the most extreme situations like full-scale global warfare or a major invasion. According to GFP, the US is spending around 150 million people in total, which is close to half of the country's population. That's not the highest for the US, which is higher. The US is not the most populous country. In the second two biggest countries in the world, China and India come in first and second. China could call up around 760 million people, be able to fight or play a part in a long-term military campaign if they had to. China once more tops the list with around 626 million. India comes in second with 522 million. The US sits third with 100 million. These two stats aren't all that important, as it's highly unlikely that countries like the US, China, or India would need to call up almost half of their entire populations to fight. Instead, it is a better view of how strong each country's force is, it's best to take a look at the numbers of active duty personnel and reservists. Active duty personnel are basically full-time members of the military. They're the most highly trained, combat-ready individuals, dedicating their lives to the military. Reservists, meanwhile, are people who have spent some time undergoing military training or service, but aren't currently involved with the army. They remain in reserve, ready to serve if and when called upon. The US has an impressive total of 1.3 million active duty personnel. That once again puts it in third behind China and India. However, the difference this time is much smaller. India is only slightly ahead of America with 1.4 million active duty soldiers, while China takes the top spot with around 2 million. As far as reservists go, the US is around 800,000. That puts it in 10th place globally. Vietnam sits in the top spot with an astonishing 5 million. With 3.1 million, and Taiwan third with 2.3 million.
What is going on in that part of the world?
The highest
Everyone
have some sort of mandatory military service.
The entire
And
country
their
is on
military
speed.
strategies around having high numbers of reservists, rather than paying too many full-time salaries for active duty personnel.
Wow.
The US has always had a different strategy, focusing more on having highly trained, fully engaged soldiers ready to enter battle as and when required, rather than a huge reservist force. It's worth noting too, when it comes to manpower, that it's a question not only of quantity, but quality. A country could have 5 million soldiers but lack the infrastructure needed to properly train them for combat or equip them with the kinds of vehicles and weapons needed to outmatch their enemies. In contrast, the US has some of the strictest and most effective military training programs anywhere on Earth. This allows it to produce some of the most extraordinary military teams in history, from the Navy SEALs to the Marines. Even small amounts of America's most elite squads are much deadlier than huge battalions of soldiers from many other countries across the world. Now let's take a look at the various branches that make up the US military, namely the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marine Corps. There are also two more branches, the Space Force and the Coast Guard, but they're less prominent and not as relevant for the time being in terms of overall military might. When you look closely at different military around the world, many excel in one particular area but lack others. Countries with long coastlines, for example, might invest heavily in strong naval forces to guard their waters, but might not have such strong ground or aerial forces. Other countries put a great deal of focus on aerial superiority, but wouldn't stand much chance in a naval training. One of the ways in which the US has always stood out is the overall balance of its military. The US always remains one of the strongest and most formidable forces for any opponent to overcome. It's dominant in all domains, but there are still a few important differences between them. The US Army, for example, is the biggest of all the US military branches. It has over 450,000 active duty personnel, with more than 325,000 National Guard members and over 175,000 Army Reserve personnel, adding up to over 950,000 soldiers in total. The Air Force comes next, with around 495,000 members overall. That includes 322,000 active duty personnel, 105 members of the Air National Guard, and 68,000 reservists. Then there's the Navy, the branch has around 337,000 active duty members, with 58,000 in reserve, for a total of approximately 438,000. The Marine Corps also reinforces the Navy with close to 170,000 fighters of its own, and 33,000 more in reserve. These figures demonstrate the balance of America's military and how well prepared it is to fight at any of the fronts. It's not just in manpower that these three branches excel, but also in terms of weapons, vehicles, and equipment they're able to call. The US Army, for example, has some of the most powerful tanks, vehicles, artillery systems, and rocket launchers by far. GFP's data gives the US 4,640 tanks in total. Of those, the M1 Abrams is the primary choice. This third-generation battle tank often tops experts' rankings of the world's toughest tanks. It's one of the heaviest in the world, tipping the scale for more than 73 tons, and has some of the strongest, most likely in the it's also packed full of firepower, a 120mm smoothbore cannon, multiple mounted machine guns, and some models even come with smoke grenade launchers too. The M1 Abrams is a long-running member of the US military, only being used as far back as the 1980s. The Army has steadily improved it over the years, more tanks.
Yeah.
China has 6,800 at the latest count, while Russia has 5,750. However, once again, it's a question of quality over quantity. Many of Russia's tanks are the T-72 model, which lags far behind the M1 Abrams in terms of both offensive and defensive potential. Russia's more modern tank, the T-14 Armata, is a closer competitor to the Abrams, but there aren't too many of those in operation. For China, it's a similar story. The Chinese have two main tanks, the Type 96 and the Type 99. The Type 96 is no match for America's M1 Abrams. The Type 99, however, has several advantages over the Abrams, being both lighter at up to 58 tons and more mobile, reaching top speeds of up to 47 miles per hour, compared to the Abrams' 42 miles per hour.
Pretty quick.
So as far as quality go, America has a massive advantage, the strongest units by most metrics. There are some other excellent tanks out there, like the K2 Black Panther of South Korea, but the Abrams still reigns supreme. The US is already working on its next improvement, the Abrams X, which is slightly lighter, faster, and more efficient than any M1 Abrams series so far. In terms of armored vehicles, the US dominance is even clearer to see. GFP statistics show that the US has more than 390,000 armored vehicles in total. That's much, much higher than the country in second place, which is India, which is more than 44,000, and Russia has more than 131,000. In other words, even if you added all of Russia and China's vehicles, the US would still have more. But again, we have to talk about quality, not just quantity. Luckily for the US, the quality of its armored vehicles is second to none. It has an extensive and diverse fleet of vehicles, each one with its own assigned tasks and features. Some are good for transporting troops in large numbers across tricky terrain. Others are designed for support and evacuation. Others still are more offensively focused, boasting their own weapons and armaments. There are the Bradley Fighting Vehicles, or BFVs, for example. Several thousand of these vehicles are in action today, with many boasting 25mm chain guns and Tau missile launchers, which is enough firepower to take out enemy tanks at distances of up to 13,000 feet. Numerous other vehicles at the US Army's expensive fleet there to Strykers, M88s, M113s, and MRAPs. They help with reconnaissance, transport, towing damaged vehicles to be repaired, and even helping units safely traverse areas with hidden mines and explosive devices. Moving on to artillery, this is one area in which the US is a little lacking. It boasts 670 artillery systems, which pales in comparison to Russia's 5,000 and China's 3,500. With 1,212 towed artillery systems, America again falls behind multiple rivals, including Russia with 8,500 and South Korea with 4,400. For rocket projectors, the US sits fifth in the rankings with 641. China has 2,750 and Russia has more than 3,000. This then is an area in which the US could consider investing in or developing further if it wants to keep up with the competition. Now let's take off and explore America's extraordinary air force. As far as aerial combat goes, the US is unmatched. No other country even comes close, no matter which metric you look at. In terms of total aircraft, for example, the US has over 13,000. That's more than China and Russia put together, with 3,300 for China and 4,300 for Russia. The quality of America's aircraft is also undisputed. Some of the greatest, most expensive, and most powerful bombers and jets the world has ever seen. Let's start with the bombers. The US is one of only a small number of countries to boast of its own bomber fleet, capable of dropping both conventional and nuclear bombers. The likes of B-2 Spirits and B-1B Lancers form that fleet. The Spirits cost over $1 billion each, but the US still has around 20 of them, which is easily enough to wipe out huge numbers of ground forces or even entire bases. The B-2s can even drop nuclear warheads if needed, as well as bunker-busting bombs that can penetrate hundreds of feet into the earth. Then there are the jets. Look at any list of world jets, and you're sure to see US Air Force models claiming several of the top spots, like the F-22 Raptor and the F-35 Lightning II. These jets are extraordinarily fast and capable of breaking the sound barrier without any trouble whatsoever. The F-22 can go twice as quick as sound, soaring to heights of 50,000 feet or more, and flying for more than 1,850 miles before it needs to refuel. The F-35 is another aerial titan with superior stealth qualities and ferocious firepower to outmatch almost any enemy jet. The Air Force has hundreds of these jets, around 180 F-22s and more than 300 F-35s, backed up by hundreds of slightly less advanced but still powerful models like the F-15s and F-16s. Other countries have some stellar jets of their own, like the Chinese Chengdu J-20 Mighty Dragon or the Russian Sukhoi Su-57, but the total strength of the US Air Force places it far ahead of either of its main rivals. rivals. And the impressive statistics don't stop there. The US Air Force also has around 600 tankers, which can refuel jets and bombers in the air, 920 transport aircraft, multiple reconnaissance planes, and thousands upon thousands of helicopters. In fact, GFP stats show a total of over 5,800 helicopters for America, with more than 1,000 attack helicopters. Other countries cannot compete with that. Russia is the nearest rival, but only has a fraction of the American tank, with 1,651 helicopters and 537 attack fleets. Finally, let's look at the US Navy and assess how well prepared America is for conflicts. Yet again, the US dominates many statistics in this catalog, but they're not quite as many as it does on land or in the air. As far as overall Navy sizes go, for example, China takes the crown. It's invested massively in its naval force over recent years and can now form over 750 vessels, including warships, several of them more. America's Navy is the second largest, with over 440 vessels. Of those vessels, 11 are carrier ships, which are some of the most important elements in any great navy. The carriers allow the US to transport jets, attack helicopters, and other aircraft huge distances across the globe in military operations far from home. China can't compete with that, as it has only 3 carriers for now. Russia is one. As far as helicopter carriers go, the US again leads the way with 9. China has 4, along with Japan, and Russia has none. Again, this gives the US a huge edge in terms of planning and long-range military operations anywhere at once. The US also has the most destroyers, with 81 in total, that live up to their name. Real destruction. Targeting enemy vessels, aircraft, destroyers, while Russia, which lags in many naval statistics, has only 10. But all naval forces float on the water's surface, submerged down in the depths, hidden from view, waiting to strike.
They freak me out.
Nuclear subs.
Subs freak me out.
With 70 in total. Russia sits in second with 63, while China has 61. So by almost all of these major metrics, the US Navy is ahead of its competition. It has a mighty naval force with some of the finest subs, destroyers, and colossal carriers to conduct all manner of military operations at sea. But there are still a few areas of improvement. The US has 0 frigates, for instance, while many countries have at least a dozen, and China has close to 50. America has no patrol vessels either, while China boasts 150. The number of corvettes is also quite low, with only 26, far below China's 72 and Russia's 83, and it has just 8 mine and countermine warships, while Russia and China again claim the top spots with 47 and 36, respectively. It's worth noting, however, that the US already has plans underway to construct more frigates and corvettes to keep pace with growing naval forces in the east. Add to that the fact that the US is working on next-generation jets, tanks, vehicles, and surveillance systems, and boasts the world's greatest military intelligence capabilities. That no other country comes close to America when it comes to defense, and it's likely to remain that way for many more years to come. The US commits to keeping defense spending high and maintaining its position as the world's undisputed #1 military power. Can you see any other country coming close to the US military in years to come, or even overtaking the US? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, that's crazy, eh? So obviously the US military is just the most well-rounded.
Yeah, so I'm picking up that there's a lot of strategy involved in where you spend.
Yeah, where you pour it all
Like,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like those ships and everything cannot work in one time all day.
Yeah.
So you've got, honestly, one thing, you could watch a million videos on the US military, but what's the one thing that these videos never touch on?
Yeah, the citizens.
The American people.
Yeah.
Who are like, great, you might defeat the biggest army in the world, but then you get past them, and you have to deal with an entire nation of people who are willing to defend like every blade of
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes down to why would we spend money on these ships that potentially we won't use in active real life work that we can because like air can go over
Yeah.
come down on boats, come down
Yeah.
on tanks,
Exactly. You can walk from land, you can walk from ships.
yeah, that's the best way to go like unprotected as well.
Yeah, through like stealth technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're using a lot in drones.
A massive U.S. naval fleet looms on the horizon. On the other side, an alliance of European.
I have to pause it already. You know what's crazy? Is America tries to invade Europe. What's the first country that they wanted? Portugal. Look at that, so small. But they still have to go for this to see. Please do something.
Notice there would be fewer jets available. In reality, even fewer than 600 for the
What the hell is this difference, my friends?
U.S. and 50 for the EU due to maintenance requirements for the carriers.
Oh, my friends are making a reality check moment right now. Oh boy, what would the war between the US and Europe look like? My friends, this is a crazy title, and let me say this right away. I know America loves Europe, and Europe loves America, and war never good. That said, kind of curious to see the result. Before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can move the light, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day, and take in consideration link for the original video description, and
A massive U.S. naval fleet looms on the horizon. On the other side, an alliance of European.
I have to pause it already. You know what's crazy? If America tries to invade Europe, what's the first country that they wanted? Portugal. Look at that, so small.
Union ships wait, ready to deny the Americans the eastern Atlantic. Soon thereafter, a massive battle ensues, with a dozen carriers, dozens of submarines, and countless planes fighting it out. That's what could happen if the U.S. and the European Union suddenly went to war with each other.
You know what? A lot of Americans right now are like a lot of Americans, a lot of people, all of you guys look like Americans. All of people want to be competitive. Maybe you're right. But I still have some hope for this to be true. Please do something.
The two superpowers total almost 800 million souls together. The Great So how would such a war be waged, and which side could take away their opponent's territory?
Interesting. No, my friend, this will be close, maybe.
If people learn from history, maybe there would be fewer wars. Now let us continue our scenario, the first of a two-part video series. The two sides are divided by the Atlantic. Wait,
My God, I told you, my friend, it's Lisbon, the first fish.
is pretty big, which means reacting far away from one's home bases isn't very easy. The EU could not realistically protect its faraway overseas assets, such as some Caribbean islands, French Guiana, various Pacific and Indian Ocean islands, and so on. Oh, and to make it clear, the rules of this scenario are no other countries can participate in any way, no nukes are used, and starting morale is the same for all.
So UK does not help us. Damn it, Brexit.
If hostilities started in just a few hours, with no warning, US bases across Europe would be trapped. For now, the scenario will seem what will happen, and a pullout of forces before the war would be possible, while the other option in the second war. If the EU wanted to kill the US on US territory, it would first have to settle it. Reaching the Western Atlantic would be theoretically doable, but hard, as it would be unique to the might of the US Navy. The survival to reach the US assets elsewhere, like in the Pacific, would be all but impossible. The EU doesn't even have the network of sufficient support bases and underway replenishment ships needed for such massive operations to support dozens of ships months at a time.
In this case today, you guys are not my friends. reach it. As soon as it moved out